Greetings, my fellow cyberspace globetrotters. The second semester serious game project bids a warm welcome. My journey has been months long, equally arduous as it was adventurous, although the sun has finally set on a conclusive last presentation. Alright, let's get to it. The topic serious implies dealing with a sort of specific issue, whether educational, informative, or societal. Though the original idea was screen addiction, I realized that this theme's impact would miss its mark in my classroom full of game designers. With a class that's always online, handing in homework virtually and conducting their exams digitally, I decided to change the theme to the recent Armenian-Azerbaijanese territorial conflict, or more specifically, civilian casualties in war. Civilian Casualty, as per the project's requirement, is a puzzle adventure game. All input in the game is text-based. In other words, in order to execute any action, it must first be typed out. This includes walking, talking, picking up objects, using your equipment, and analyzing the surrounding environment. I'll be able to type blindfolded by the time this is all done. Due to brief requirements, the game also called for a means of dialogue. Utilizing graphs, which are systems of rectangular nodes, tied together with strings, aka edges, I managed to craft conversations between two different characters. Using this Lego-like join-the-dots graph system, I managed to help multiple characters phrase multiple sentences. Between the grenade-throwing Sadiq and the landmine planting Anadkar's little chats, dialogue really did go off with a bang. Speaking of characters, Sadiq and Anadkar patrol their respective territories through the power of Navmesh, a specialized computer intelligence that helps them calculate the shortest route to their destination. The player also makes use of Navmesh, though his brain bases its destination on wherever you click or whatever keyword you enter into the search bar. Likewise, these gentlemen all utilize varied animations for their day-to-day happenings. With Sadiq and Anadkar, it's pretty straightforward. They walk around on patrol, they sit idly by when they reach their destination, and they talk if you ever engage in conversation. The player does the same, though only when you directly SMS them to. The crowds, however, are another story. Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man. A bunch of randomized conversation animations, cooked together into a fine lasagna or a horror movie monster. Unity was flooding me with errors whenever I tried to use this clean, concise little any-state function. Thus, my only alternative was to recreate Spaghetti Junction. Otherwise, I am happy with the results of this final project. I was glad that I had just enough time to slip in a few luxuries. This includes the fog, an inventory, custom models, color and a painted background, a score system, suitable lighting, and good caliber sound effects. Thank you for staying with me thus far. From here on out, folks, language will become more techno-babbly. The rest of this video is aimed at an in-depth analysis for my lecturer and my fellow peers. So if you're staying on board this SpaceX launch, please make sure to buckle up your seatbelts. The original graph prototype was created in Visual Studio, though I have since moved it to Unity. The prototype is in its own appropriately named scene, with all of its accompanied proto-type scripts. There's one debug log graph and one viewable UI graph showcasing a dialogue demonstration. The factory. The factory method does not spawn the NPCs, but rather it assigns different honor rolls and dialogue graphs. Thus, NPC 1 could randomly be selected by the game to be Sadiq, the grenade giver, or NPC 1 could be selected to be Anadkar, the mines planter. The same thing goes for NPC 2. For example, over here, NPCs do inventory checks. This is especially mandatory for a nutcar, as progressing further in his mine planting quest requires you to bring the physical explosive itself to him for means of verification. All scripts can be located to their respective files. Interactable handles all of the player input, with the subject of the exchange, for example the crowd, usually taking it further if need be. So for example, with the specific commands of use the grenade on the crowd or use the potatoes on the crowd, that the crowd function will proceed to take those commands further. Thank you for tuning in on this wild ride. I look forward to catching up with you all again next year when I recreate Minecraft and invent Skynet. Ciao!